Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mr. English Channel. I'm Emily, and I'm so happy to be here with you all today.
And I'm Paul. It's great to be back, Emily. We have a fantastic episode lined up for all our amazing listeners today.
We really do, Paul. Before we dive into our topic, we just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has been supporting us. Your likes, shares, and subscriptions mean the world to us.
They really do. So if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to Mr. English Channel. Share this episode with your friends who are learning English and hit that like button. It helps us reach more people and continue making these podcasts for you.
Absolutely. And now, for today's topic, something I know many of you have asked about. We're going to talk about the top 5 English mistakes.
Oh, this is a good one, Emily. I think everyone, no matter their level, has made some of these mistakes. It's totally normal, right?
Totally normal, Paul, and that's why we wanted to do this episode. It's not about feeling bad if you make these mistakes. It's about learning from them and improving your English. We all make mistakes, even native speakers sometimes.
Okay, Emily, let's start with our first common mistake. This one catches a lot of people off guard. 2 versus 4.
Yes, this is a classic. Many times, English learners use 4 when they should use 2, and vice versa. It can be a bit confusing because in some languages, one word might cover both meanings.
Exactly. Let's break it down. We generally use 2 when we're talking about direction or destination. Think about movement. For example, I'm going to the store. You're moving in the direction of the store.
That's a great way to think about it. Or, I walk to school every day. You're going in the direction of the school. It's about movement towards something.
Right. Now, 4 is usually used to indicate purpose or benefit. So I bought this present for my mom. The purpose of buying the present is for your mom. She benefits from it.
Yes, that makes sense. Another example. This cake is for the party. The purpose of the cake is the party. Or, I study English for my job. The benefit of studying English is for my job.
So if you're saying, I bought a coffee to you, that sounds a bit off, right? It should be, I bought a coffee for you. You're buying it for their benefit.
Precisely. Or, I need to talk for you. No, it should be, I need to talk to you. You're directing your talk towards them. It's about the recipient of the action.
So, a good little trick is to think, am I going somewhere? Or am I giving something to someone? Or am I talking to someone? Then it's probably 2.
And if you're thinking, what is the reason or who benefits from this? Then it's probably 4. It takes practice, but once you get the hang of it, it becomes much more natural.
Okay, Emily, moving on to our second common mistake. This one is another pair that often causes confusion. Say versus tell.
Oh, this is a big one. I hear this mistake a lot. Can you say me your name? Or he told that he was tired.
Exactly. Let's clarify. The main difference between say and tell often comes down to whether you mention the listener or not.
That's a good way to put it. We usually use say when we are simply stating something, and we don't necessarily mention who we are speaking to. For example, he said that he was tired. We don't say who he said it to.
Perfect example. Or she said hello. Again, we don't know who she said hello to, just that she said it. It's more about the words spoken.
Now, tell almost always needs an object after it, meaning you need to say who you are telling something to. So, he told me that he was tired. Here, me is the object.
Yes. Or she told her friends a funny story. Her friends is the object. You need to specify who received the information.
So you wouldn't say she told a story without saying who she told it to. You'd say she told a story to us, or more commonly, she told us a story.
That's right. Think of tell as needing a receiver of the information. Tell me, tell him, tell us. But with say, you just say the words. He said hello. She said goodbye.
So, if someone asks you, "What did she say?" you might reply, "She said she was busy." You don't need to add me after said.
But if they ask, what did she tell you? Then you would say, she told me she was busy. The you in the question prompts the me in the answer.
It's all about that direct object, the person receiving the information. Once you start paying attention to that, say and tell become much clearer.
All right, Emily. Our third common mistake is one that even native speakers sometimes get wrong. So don't feel bad about this one. Affect versus effect.
Oh, this is a tricky one. And it's tricky because they sound so similar, but they're usually different parts of speech.
Exactly. The easiest way to remember this is that affect is almost always a verb. It means to influence or have an impact on something. Think of it as an action.
So, for example, the rain will affect our plans. The rain is actively influencing or changing the plans. Or, his words didn't affect her. His words didn't have an impact on her.
Right. It's the action of influencing. Now, effect is almost always a noun. It refers to the result or outcome of an action. Think of it as the consequence.
So, if the rain affects our plans, then the effect might be that we have to stay home. The rain caused something to happen, and that something is the effect.
Perfect. Or, his words had no effect on her. The result of his words was nothing. There was no change.
Another way to think about it, effect is the cause and effect is the result. The new law will affect everyone. The law is the cause. It will influence people. The effect of the new law was a lot of changes. The changes are the results.
Sometimes people try to remember it by thinking of A for action, affect, and E for outcome, effect. Can be a little mnemonic.
Yes, that can help. And while there are rare exceptions where effect can be a verb, meaning to bring about, like to effect change, and affect can be a noun, like a psychological term, for everyday English, just remember, affect is a verb, to influence, and effect is a noun, the result.
If you can just stick to that rule, you'll avoid this mistake almost every time. It's a really common one, so mastering it will make your English sound much more natural.
Paul, our fourth common mistake is something we hear quite often, especially with groups or teams. It's the mix-up between is and are with collective nouns.
Oh, this is a classic. Things like, the team are playing well, or the family is coming. It can be confusing because the word itself looks singular, but it represents many people.
Exactly. A collective noun is a noun that looks singular, but refers to a group of individuals. Common examples include team, family, government, audience, group, committee.
So the rule of thumb is, if you're thinking of the group as one single unit acting together, you use is, singular verb.
Yes. For example, the team is playing well. Even though there are many players, they are acting as one team. Or, my family is visiting next week. They are coming as one unit, my family.
Right. Or, the government is meeting today. The government acts as a single entity making decisions.
Now, if you're thinking of the individual members within that group acting separately, you use are, plural verb.
This is where it gets a little nuanced. For example, the team are putting on their shoes. Here, you're thinking of each individual player putting on their own shoes, not the team as a single unit doing it.
That's a great example. Or, my family are arguing about what movie to watch. Here, the individual members of the family are having separate arguments. They are not acting as one single unit arguing.
So, often, if it's an action that each person in the group performs individually, you might use are. If it's an action the group as a whole performs, you use is.
In American English, it's very common to use is with collective nouns most of the time, even when referring to individual actions. For example, the team is putting on their shoes is often accepted. However, in British English, it's more common to use are when the individual members are emphasized.
That's a good point about the difference between American and British English. But for learners, a safe bet is often to use is with collective nouns when you're talking about the group acting as a single unit. It's less likely to sound incorrect.
And when in doubt, try to rephrase. Instead of the team are happy, you could say the players on the team are happy, which clearly indicates the plural. But sticking to the unit versus individuals rule is a good start.
All right, Emily, we've reached our fifth and final common mistake for today, and this one involves comparing things. Less versus fewer.
Ah, yes. This is another one that gets mixed up quite a bit. I have less problems, or there are fewer sugar.
Exactly the kind of examples we hear. The key difference here is whether the noun you're talking about is countable or uncountable.
Let's start with fewer. We use fewer for things we can count individually. Think of items you can point to and count one by one.
So, for example, I have fewer books than you. You can count books. 1 book, 2 books, 3 books. Or there are fewer cars on the road today. You can count cars.
Right. Fewer people, fewer mistakes, fewer apples. If you can put a number in front of it, use fewer.
Now, less is used for things that are uncountable or that we think of as a mass or quantity. We can't count them individually.
Like water, sugar, time, information. You don't say 1 water, 2 waters. You say some water, a lot of water.
Precisely. So I have less water in my glass. You can't count individual waters. Or I have less time than you. You measure time, but you don't count it as individual units in this context.
Another good example. He has less money now. While you can count individual dollars or euros, money itself is often treated as an uncountable noun in a general sense.
Yes. So, less traffic, less stress, less information. If you can't easily count it, use less.
A simple way to remember it is fewer for things you can count, things you can number, less for things you can measure, things you can quantify but not number.
That's a great distinction. And while you might hear less people in very informal speech, it's grammatically incorrect. To sound more polished and correct, always aim for fewer people.
This one, like the others, takes a little practice to make it automatic. But once you get it, you'll notice how often it's used correctly and incorrectly.
So there you have it, our top 5 English mistakes that many learners make. We've talked about to versus for, say versus tell, affect versus affect, is versus are with collective nouns, and less versus fewer.
And remember, making mistakes is a natural part of learning. The important thing is to be aware of them and keep practicing. Every mistake is a step closer to speaking more confidently and correctly.
Absolutely. The best way to improve is to actively try to use these corrections in your speaking and writing. Don't be afraid to try.
And if you're ever unsure, that's what we're here for. You can always re-listen to this episode or look up more examples online. There are tons of resources out there.
Yes, and speaking of resources, we'd love for you to subscribe to Mr. English channel if you haven't already. It helps us grow and bring you more great content like this.
Don't forget to share this episode with anyone you know who is learning English. It could really help them too.
And we want to hear from you. Leave us a comment below and tell us, which of these mistakes do you find most challenging? Or, have you successfully overcome one of these common errors? Share your experience.
We love reading your comments and getting your feedback. It helps us understand what you need and what topics you'd like us to cover next.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Mr. English Channel. Keep practicing, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone.
See you next time.